Good afternoon and welcome to Epic New Media. I'm Dr. J, your host for today's episode. I'm so excited about today's episode because who do I have on stage with me but my friend and my guru who has been working with me for the last 15 years in body work. This is Kamala Ingrid. Please help me in welcoming her today.
Thank you, my pleasure.
So we are here today and we're going to enjoy a wonderful time of just talk. We're going to talk about what we're doing, what she's been doing to help me become the person that I have now become in terms of my body and my movement and releasing things that have been harbored in my physical being, which is something that is pretty new to me because having been trained in psychology and human sciences, you know, if you know me, you know, I'm all about science. So this type of healing process is a little bit left field for me, but she has brought me across gently and nurturing step by step so that my ignorance could be enlightened by a little bit more evolution, a step at a time. So I have to thank you. Thank you so much. So Ingrid, welcome.
Thank you. My pleasure for being here. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, tell me something. We always start off my episodes with dedication. So who would you like to dedicate today's episode to?
My dedication is always and has always been to my child, my daughter Talia, who's really...
Yours. She's mine.
We do fight for her. No, I actually found myself, ever since I had her, I made myself pretty much become a better side of me, better person, just so she can inspire to see what women can do, what women can achieve. And I found myself really, without her, I wouldn't be where I am. I think it's really what pushed me to get to this place.
Awesome. Well, we share that in common as well. Her daughter and my daughter met when they were just little ones. I mean, we celebrated their first birthdays together, remember?
Yep.
They were like yay big. Not that much shorter than what I really am, but you know, yay big. So 1-year-olds celebrating their birthday together, and it will be a forever memory that will stay with me. We have beautiful pictures, but apart from that, they've grown up together, and so that's why you heard me banter with her about the fact that she's my child. Although I think my child is more like her child.
Absolutely.
And actually, at some point, do you remember when they used to look alike and we used to each share? We would take turns taking them out because we wanted to be taking out twins. That way, if anybody saw us and said, wow, you look so great. She did. I didn't. It took a long time to get back to where we are today. So, coming back full circle, tell me a little bit about how did you get into this discipline? I know the story, but I would love you to share it with my audience. How did you come into this?
Well, Jessie, I mean, I started this discipline long ago before I even knew I was going to get into it as a profession. I started at the age of 11 practicing yoga due to a seizures that I used to have back when I was a child. I suffered a lot, and unfortunately for my parents, they went through a lot with me, taking me from one specialist to another and no answer. So much what they brought me even to down to Florida to basically think that they would through the Jackson Memorial Hospital to try to help me through EKGs and all that, numerous events that we had. But in the process of that time zone, until the age of 16, I discovered this form of therapy. Who knew? This all came to myself. I guess I thought outside the box, and it was on journaling, which I started journaling when I started having these seizures up until the age of 16, which is my last seizure I ever encountered. And as I go back and I remember, as I read those stories, I found myself realizing that there was a trigger point, and it came back that it had a lot to do with my past, and it goes back to my roots. When I started realizing, I took that time to really take initiative of taking responsibility and turning everything around in a different perspective and looking at it. We always look at the coin. There's one side and there's always the other side of the coin. And I decided to look at everything in a more positive way. So instead of becoming a victim of the circumstances, how can I make this better? And as I started healing, the day that I had my daughter, I realized that was the beginning of my stage of being healed, because I could have gotten back into a seizure and risked the life of my child. Right. But nothing had happened, and that's when I realized that chapter was closed, that everything I had done up until that day had worked for me. And I think that's what brought me into wanting to heal other people, because I realized it's a lot of it has to do with a neural association that we sometimes are so accustomed through our family histories, and it goes back to many generations too, which can trigger things for us, and it passes on to our child. Mm-hmm. And when I say I dedicate this to my daughter, is because I chose not to want to pass those same things to my kid. A lot of the same ailments that we go through, like asthma and things like that. So it took a life journey, but I come now to this point where I am now, and I can say that she's basically healed a lot. I healed myself a lot. So I've been able to take those around me and work with them. And so now I put that practice to all my other students that I come across, and I have all walks of life, all ages.
Yeah, a lot of what you're saying is resonating. We come from two different schools of thought, mm-hmm. but actually we converge on the same belief, and that is that the number one principle to success and health and well-being and enlightenment and fulfillment is taking responsibility for your own self. Loving yourself first, healing yourself internally first, but it comes with that taking responsibility. If you don't take responsibility and you then become a victim to the events around you, and life happens to you instead of you taking life into your own hands and directing your path. So I commend you. Unfortunately, not everyone has had that experience, right?
Exactly.
So why don't you tell my audience and educate me a little bit more, as you always have, a little bit about the specific body work that you do?
Well, Jesse, the thing with yoga is, again, it is an ancient practice that comes way many years, 5,000 years ago, and it's something where we've learned to work with our bodies. We have chakras. There's 7 chakras and there's more than that, but the 7 chakras are aligned to each in basically an organ in our bodies, starting from the base of the spine all the way to the crown, and each one, depending on the pose that you're going to encounter at the moment. Some of us may not find ourselves very accessible to those poses because they might find themselves kind of, maybe I would say, stuck mm-hmm. in that place. So these poses tend to open them up over time. It might not be easy, but then you work with breath, sound therapy as well. Some of the times I like to work with crystals. Crystals will help also because they come from the earth. And I also will find myself a lot of breath work just to help them unblock a lot of their stuff. So it's a repetition of poses over and over, and over time, as they go deeper and deeper, they're actually stimulating those organs, which we would also call them those chakras, and opening those chakras up, allowing them to go through a flow and process. And then I tend to work with them through a form of affirmations to help them change the way they think in wherever it is that they're stuck on in that particular place, and just change their way they think and the way they look at things to try to help them heal if they're going through something major.
So it's a combination of body work, intentional mindfulness
Correct.
in the midst, and breathing. And I can attest, when I started working with her, I could not even touch my toes. And over time, she does a practice that is amazing, but in the moment you want to kill her. She comes in behind you and she literally tells you to start breathing, and she puts all of her weight. Now, she's not a heavy person, but when she puts all of her weight, all of a sudden your body weight and her body weight, they converge and they create double. And all of a sudden you're moving, and the leveraging that's occurring is not something you anticipated. And I can honestly say that from when I started to where I am, it's a totally different experience. Much more flexible, much more open,
and a sense of trust.
And absolutely, there is definitely trust. Absolutely,
because without the trust in the connection, you would not be.
I don't think I'd let anybody else, put their body weight on me. It wouldn't happen. Number one, because they're usually much bigger. Number two, because no one touches me. Unless I want them to touch me. So let's move on. What would you say? I heard this story, and it breaks my heart that people would suffer with such things such as seizures and asthma. And I think both of us share the belief that those types of ailments have rooted beginnings in past, stuck, as you said, areas in one's life. But what was the one aha moment? Was it the moment that you delivered your child, or was it before that you had an aha moment that put you on this life path and journey that you're on now?
Actually, my aha moment came into basically when I went through a separation in my family. Mm-hmm. And at that point, I had realized how much that work that I had done up until then, because I think when life presents you with a lot of challenges, and this was one of them, I found myself in that place of understanding a lot of the things that I had probably taken a little bit for granted. Mm-hmm. Up until then, when things are taken away from you, you look at everything in a different perspective and appreciate everything that comes to you.
Absolutely.
Including people, because I also realized the magnet of what it is to, when you are attracting the law of attraction. Mm-hmm. And so I realized to change a lot of the things that I had failed or not been able to achieve at that time, I wanted to attract and do better. Not only for myself, but to show my daughter that this can be done. And so as a single mom, it empowered me to basically help other women in that situation. And I think that's what made me basically want to make a major change. It was to empower other women. To empower women that were going through things, that have been through major trauma, and that there's always hope. There's always a sense of knowing that it's with patience, perseverance, and determination, you will achieve your goals in life.
So you heard it. Beautiful. What would you say is the one significant takeaway that you've taken from this journey that you've been on?
What I got from this journey has been just basically a sense of freedom that I experienced. Mm-hmm. That is, I wouldn't do it any other way. And the amount of friends that I've encountered in this journey that also are seeing the same vision that I see, and how we want to help others, and just connecting, that interconnection with other women and other people that are in the same understanding that I am about wanting to help the earth, wanting to be part of that connection, wanting to help other people in the same place, has been very, very rewarding for me. Absolutely. I really enjoy that a lot, and I think that I tend to want to explore that more and more as I evolve in life.
I think that you're hitting the nail on the head. All of us, not all of us, but those of us rather, who have a passion for healing, traditionally it's because it's coming out of our own pain and our own journey to freedom from whatever ails us or whatever has held us back or held us stagnant in our lives. And then of course, once you're able to unblock all of that negativity and energy, for some that refer to it that way, personally it's psychological blocks is the way that I would see it. Once you're able to break through, basically you start to recognize that all your setbacks are just the preamble to your setups to the next level up in your life. They set you up for the next step of success. And I see, and I've watched you for 15 years, and I've seen how not only has she evolved as a professional and a mother, but I've seen her evolving as an individual, and it blesses my heart that we're still friends. So we're gonna go, look, oh goodness, look at this. Okay, so we're going on to the last question before I lose it. The last question is, if your now self could go back in time and speak to your then self, what would be the one nugget of gold that you would want to share with you back then, so that you didn't have to go through all the pain and the lessons perhaps that you could save others? What would you tell yourself? What would you want to save yourself from?
I guess it would be trusting. Mm-hmm. The process of life, trusting what you feel of those choices you make, to know that if those are the choices you made, that there's a reason why, and trust it and go with your gut.
Absolutely. I think that is pivotal. If we don't trust and love ourselves first, there is no way that we can extend that same grace to others. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ingrid. It was a pleasure.
An honor. Thank you.
So guys, gang, girls, guys, welcome again, and thank you so much for joining us today. It's been my esteemed pleasure to have Kamala Ingrid with us. If you want to reach out to her personally, which I know you're all going to want to, because look at her, she does beautiful work. You can just scroll down and you're going to see her website information, and you're going to be able to join her on her private Facebook page as well to get direct counsel from her and to connect with other like-minded, heart-minded, soul-conscious, entrepreneurial, and health-seeking women. For Epic New Media, I'm Dr. J. Thank you so much for joining me today, and God bless. Blessings.
Thank you.